Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Crowd Chatter podcast. And today is the should be in section for the NCAA tournament for Bubble Watch. And there's the last video that I just did was for the locks, and I'm not even sure that took 4 minutes. So this one should be a lot longer because there's a lot more changes that I'm going to be making in this one as opposed to, well, really any other one. Let's start with the ACC. There's only four. Last week only had. I mean, obviously this is what we had last week. This is still what we have from last week, except I'm putting Duke ahead of NC State. Really, other than that, there's no changes I'm making here. This is pretty much the same. Duke has held their own. NC State, they took a loss on the road to Syracuse, which isn't great, but then they beat North Carolina and redeemed themselves. As for Pitt, they just continue to win. They took a loss to Virginia Tech, and which finally ended their win streak, but they're still a good team. They still remain as a should be in team with their conference record and their conference wins as well. TCU continues to struggle without Mike Miles. I think he is back now, and they nearly beat Kansas with him, but they'll still be here. They're still good enough to be a should be in team. They still have good wins when they had Mike Miles. I think they'll also take into consideration that TCU lost one of their best players for a good portion of the year. So I still think, but even now, I still think TCU is very much a should be in team. UConn's dropping out of this category. Well, I guess moving out of this category, moving up, as I put them, as you saw earlier in the lock section. So they're no longer needed here. And as for the rest of the Big East, Providence and Creighton, they both remain here. Now, if you watched ESPN's Bubble Watch articles too, the ones that they always come out, like, they'll update after every game, they list Creighton as a lock for the NCAA tournament. Personally, I am not on board with that. Now, I've never really been on board with Creighton's team at all anyway, but I don't understand why. To me, Creighton's like the Texas of college basketball this year. They had such high expectations, and they flopped early, and so now they're making a slight bit of a run, and now they're giving them an arbitrary, 19, 18 overall ranking. This team has a couple good wins. I mean, they did beat Xavier pretty good at home, which is nice. They did beat this Providence team at home, which is nice. And I think they also beat UConn at home, which again is nice. But other than that, they don't really have anything special. I mean, they beat Seton Hall twice. They got a season sweep over the Pirates, and they're a work to do team. But they also have losses to BYU, Nebraska, who has gotten better, but it's still Nebraska. Um, and you don't want, and it was also a home loss, so that doesn't look very good. That doesn't look great. BYU's not very special. That's not a good loss. They lost to Arizona State as well at home, and ASU's okay, but that's still not great. I mean, I think at this point they still should be in the tournament, but as far as to say they're a lock and they're a top 20 team is very much a stretch in my opinion. But they remain in the should be in category for me. This is probably the category of which you'll see by far the most change, as Northwestern has been on stinking fire and has now pushed themselves to number two. Yes, number two in the Big Ten a year after they were absolutely awful in Big Ten. Well, not even just Big Ten play, just overall, they were garbage. And they have absolutely gone insane since then. Really impressive here from Northwestern, what they've been able to do. Rutgers has taken some losses. They're dropping back here with Illinois, still ahead of Iowa, Michigan State. All these teams are still in this should be in category, and crazily enough, we're adding Yet another Big Ten team to this should be in section. This conference is just full of mediocrity, but we had another team, and that other team is Maryland. Since the last video, the Terrapins got a huge home win against Purdue. They are going ahead of Michigan State. They got a huge home win against Purdue, which, I mean, anybody who beats Purdue is going to have, huge wins. Is going to get themselves huge wins. Maryland also has a neutral site win over the Miami Hurricanes, which is another very good team. So you know, I put Maryland here in the should be in section, which is now got 6 Big Ten teams. Yeah, I know it's crazy, and if Indiana continues losing, they might drop here. Then you have 7 Big Ten teams. So, and what's also crazy about really all I think pretty much every single one of these teams is they all have the same conference record. I know it's absolutely insane how just uh, much of a just mess it is in the middle of the Big Ten behind Northwestern, who is the number 2 team in the conference, and then of course Purdue, and even Indiana's in that mess of teams. So it's just craziness, the Big Ten. But now you got 6 teams for the should be in out of the Big Ten. Pac 12, what a surprise. Nobody is still coming out of the Pac 12 except for pretty much just UCLA and Arizona for sure. We'll see if somebody else joins those two. If USC wants to join them, or maybe somebody else too. But right now, there's still not a single should be in team from the Pac-12. There's only two. You're in or you're right on the cut line if you're in the Pac-12. As for the SEC, we have some new additions to this category too, and we have one enormous one who has just continued to play. Whoops, has just continued to play better and better, and that is Texas A&M. The Texas A&M Aggies. I'm just stunned by how well they have played. I mean, this team man, they keep winning, and they can't stop winning. I mean, they're currently I don't know if I think it's 13-2 in the SEC. Yeah, you guys heard me right. They're 13-2 in the SEC conference play. That is absolutely absurd. And they're a good team. And I'm not gonna sit here and say Texas A&M's garbage. How the heck do they have that good of a conference record? I'm not gonna say that because A&M is a solid team, but 13-2, that is outstanding, and that is very impressive. Obviously, the top 2 teams in the SEC are Bama and Tennessee. They only get one shot against both of them. Conveniently, they're both at home, and they just beat Tennessee. Bama is the last game of the season, but A&M, they have a season sweep over Missouri, a season sweep over Auburn. They beat Florida, they beat Arkansas. Their only 2 losses come on the road to Arkansas and on the road to Kentucky. I mean, they have fantastic conference wins. Now, non-conference obviously was a bit messy. Bad losses like Murray State, Wofford, uh, Wofford, Colorado. Those are all pretty bad. Boise State and Memphis were the 2 good teams that they ended up losing to in the non-conference. So obviously, they needed a very good conference record and really just conference season to uh, get them back on the map. And oh boy, did they answer the bell! So Texas A&M, with the wins that they just keep putting together, now with another win over Tennessee, or well, not another win, but a win over Tennessee, they still have a chance against Alabama. They have a road game against Mississippi State. They're on an absolute tear, and they have not lost in the month of February, and they're on a 6-game win streak. So very impressive for the Aggies. I am stunned by how they've been able to play and how well they've been doing it too. So outstanding from Texas A&M. And there is another team that we are putting in here, and this is not one of my favorites. Never has been, because this team just is very unspecial in my opinion. But they find ways to win, and that, of course, as you can see, is Kentucky. They've played themselves on the right side. They were on the bubble for quite a while, but they've played themselves onto the right side of the bubble now. As they're another team who knocked off Tennessee, and they actually now own a season sweep of Tennessee. Not to mention they just got a road win against Mississippi State. Of course, they have that win at home against Texas A&M. In a non-conference, they really don't have much, but just those wins alone, the season sweep of Tennessee, beating A&M at home, uh, and also beating Mississippi State on the road, which is a solid team. They also got the season sweep against Florida, who is no longer really on the map anymore. Uh, I think Kentucky, they're just barely in this should be in category, but the wins are there, and as long as they hold their own through the rest of this season, and they got Auburn, Vandy at home, and then at the last game of the year they go to Arkansas. So big games for Kentucky. Um, all of those really. But as of right now, they should be in the tournament because of that season sweep over Tennessee, and also, of course, the huge win over A&M at home that looms even larger now. And then, as for the other categories, San Diego State remains here, but FAU falls out after another loss in the conference, which really any loss for them doesn't look good. So whenever they take a tumble, it really hurts them. And it definitely will hurt them this time as they fall out of the should be in category. But that's it for this one. Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, next is the work to do category, and oh boy, there's going to be some really interesting ones in there. I know some of you will think I'm crazy when I make some of those picks, but you'll find out for yourself when you go ahead and watch it. And well, as I said, that's it for this video, and until next time, adios everyone.